Assalamu alaikum again, and thank you for joining us for the second day of the first annual State of the Renewable Energy Conference here in Karachi, organized by the Sustainable Development Policy Institute. My name is Hussain Taleb. I head External Affairs here at Unilever, and we'd like to thank you for joining here at our head office, and for SDPI for giving us the opportunity to host you here for this second day of the conference. Before I hand over to Ahad, just a few quick housekeeping items for some of the new participants today. In case of an emergency, please do not panic. Our ushers will lead you down to the ground floor for emergency exits. The assembly area is the Avari pool side, which is right next door. Rooms, the namaz areas are right at the back of the hall towards the right. Okay, ji. Thank you again for joining us. I hope we have a wonderful half day, especially that we've got Tausif Saab here as well for some wonderful discussions. And Ahad Saab, over to you.
Thank you, Hussain Saab. I will first like to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Tausif Farooqi Saab. He is currently the chairman of NEPRA. Prior to this, he has been the founder and CEO of Alter Consulting and commercial director TEPCO. He did his MBA from LUMS and executive program in management from Columbia Business School. Sir, with your permission, I'll just like to apprise the audience with regards to the proceedings that occurred yesterday. So just to start off, for people that have joined us today, this conference, the first annual State of Renewable Conference, has been organized by Sustainable Development Policy Institute with its partners under the National Clean Energy Transition Network, which we have in Pakistan. And our partners, especially included in this, in organizing this conference, include Unilever, GIZ under the Climate and Energy Initiative, Energy Update, Renewables First, and Stimulus. And my name is Ahad Nazir, sir. I head the Center for Private Sector Engagement at SDPI. So with regards to the proceedings yesterday, for those people who were not here, we had an inaugural session which had a keynote from the former Finance Minister, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, and we were able to, with our August panels, including the Secretary Energy Sindh, the MD PPIB, we were able to make a link between socio-economics, energy and environment. And of course, one of the major issues with regards to climate change is related to energy, and especially the electric power sector. So we were able to establish the link, the need for renewables, and there were a lot of issues and solutions that were identified that will be part of the report that we will be submitting to you later, sir. So since we want to hear a lot from you, especially with regards to CTBCM and the wheeling policy, so if you allow, we can start off with the session earlier. The first panel discussion can complete, and afterwards the wheeling session, we will like you to give us a keynote address, and probably we can increase the time for your talk. So if you allow, we can start off with the first session. We have three very important sessions today. The first session is majorly related to the renewable energy technologies. The second one, of course, will be related to the wheeling, and the third one will be with regards to CSR and the social side of renewable energy projects. So for the first session, which is the role of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, energy storage and batteries and hydrogen fuel, I will be moderating myself just in order to avoid, just in order to save some time. So I would like to request my panelists, which include Mr. Danish Iqbal from Gul Ahmed. I think he'll be joining us soon. Ms. Hira Wajahat, if you can kindly come up on stage. Ms. Hira Wajahat is currently working as a partner at Stimulus, an innovative consulting firm that is working to accelerate a transition towards sustainable economies and environment. So thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sarim is not around. Hasnan. Ms. Sophia is currently working as founder and CEO of Linked Things, which is an IoT solution provider for emerging markets, and she has over 20 years of experience with transforming business and consulting tech ventures. So next up, we have Ms. Tara Uzra Daud. She's currently working as chairperson of Ladies Fund. She's also CEO and founder of 786 Investments Limited. She holds a doctorate in judicial science from Harvard Law School, and specializes in Sharia law and finance, as well as mergers and acquisitions. Mr. Salman Mohiuddin. Mr. Salman is currently the country manager of Pakistan at Goodby and chief executive at Industrial Value Yielding Services. And we are also joined by Mr. Mahfouz Qazi, project director in solar energy. So you can join us on stage. So just in order to save some time, I would just like to give some guiding questions to the panel. Of course, we'll start off with regarding we're trying to know the recent developments on technology front that ensure better integration of renewable energy into the system. What are the challenges in successful of medium and large scale renewable energy projects? What are the demand side inefficiencies? That's more Sophia, I think. And of course, how can we integrate these with IoT based and other solutions? And what are the challenges, practices, and what kind of did for that? Yes, sir. So we'll start with Salman, sir. So if you can kindly, sir, provide some answers to our questions, please. And I would request you all to be very brief. We're cognizant of the fact that today have to.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for coming in time and getting started in time as well. Secondly, as far as the question is concerned, the challenges of the energy mix and the development of technological progress in Pakistan as yet, I think it's pretty clear at the moment that for the last 8 months or so, this implementation of sales tax and the additional tax has actually enforced some more or less 30 to 40% of the load to the market, to the main developing market of solar, which was mostly towards the residential sector. Of course, it was towards commercial and industrial as well. However, the tilt for the last 2 or 3 years, we have been noticing that it was towards the residential market, and it has impacted quite a bit. You see, because for instance, if a 10 kilowatt system, which was costing about 150 to 160 rupees a watt, now it has been costing 200 or more than 200 a watt now. So this is a big challenge for a resi customer, for an individual. It also poses a serious challenge for a commercial industrial segment as well. So for that matter, I believe that the first thing should be that this GST portion, which is 17 and then the 3.6% of the additional tax, should be looked upon once again and should be reconsidered, and it should be waived off as it used to be, because only yesterday the PM had a meeting and they decided that all the government buildings and the commercial buildings belong to the government side. That was actually targeting 10,000 megawatt. But I believe that putting up the numbers is easy. It's easier said than done. However, first thing first, that this GST should be looked upon once again, should be revised, or should have been implemented stepwise, not just right away putting up the 20% tax and then forcing the end users to look down on it. So I believe I want to be concise, keep it concise. This is a basic challenge. Then secondly, at the moment, for the last 3 months, we have been facing this LC issue for the forex thing, we all know. So that's one of the main things, that now those stockists or the people or the importers who have kept the stocks have raised the prices. So eventually putting the burden towards the customer more. these are the things which I think the decision makers should actually reconsider, and give a thought to before making up a decision. Because, like, if we evaluate what is the alternate solution to the solar, if it's the conventional solution, then again you are increasing the oil bill. So in order to contain that, the best possible solution is the alternate energy, and which is the solar in Pakistan. It's abundance. So I guess once again I would like to reiterate that we should reconsider it, and we should give a thought to it, that this additional tax, and the LC burden. You see, for instance, even today, if the LCs are just processed, which are being pending for the last 3 months, even then, this has actually affected the peak season of the solar side. For the last 2 or 3 months, that was a peak season, and for the next 2 or 3 months, it will actually go down. So I believe that there is some lacking in the planning side. We should actually have, for instance, if we had to do that, we should have done it by November or December, maybe. That would have a lesser adverse effect than what it has done now. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Salman Saab. Very important point with regards to preemptive planning. So next up, I'll go to Ms. Tara Uzra.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'll speak really briefly about the challenges because they've been outlined so succinctly here. One is that the most important is that we need energy, electricity as quickly as possible. We've seen with the floods taking place now that there's more need than ever for all these ways for sustainable energy to combat climate change. And renewables is one of the best ways to go about this. So with our NEPRA chairman here especially, the more quicker we can get approvals, the better tariffs we can have, the more ways to facilitate business would be ideal, particularly as we know prices of a lot of supply is increased due to Ukraine and what's happening with that end. Then there's currency devaluation as well. So while we can talk about tax and regulatory things, there's global issues at place, making it quite challenging. So from that point of view, the more and more we can facilitate business, which of course NEPRA always does do, is very important to keep in mind. Now, I was asked to speak about the technology aspects, and solar is what we're focusing on right now. Of course, we have a 50 megawatt Hydro-China wind power plant, but in doing Ladies Fund Energy, we're focusing first on 50 megawatts of building up to 200 megawatts of solar. And solar is absolutely incredibly technologically advancing day by day. The breakthroughs nowadays globally include longer lasting solar cells that you can now print on flexible surfaces, solar panels that track the sun from east to west, and solar plants that work during the day, during night as well. And this is, and costs have fallen dramatically. When we started our wind power, this is now 17 years ago, we began the journey. It would have been absurd to even consider doing solar. It was too expensive. And the last few years, the prices have fallen so much, despite the challenges I mentioned, that it is absolutely intelligent and necessary of the day. We've seen already that solar is taking place on homes, solar panels on the houses. This is something that is very real and a key part of what's happening in the homes. For the plants that we're looking at, the reality on ground is that not only do you have to have suppliers, you have to have suppliers that have good corporate citizenship. I know most of us do supply from China, and there's been a little bit of a challenge on the fact that many of the international investors are concerned about the corporate citizenship taking place on some of those suppliers. And you also have to keep in mind that there's multiple uses of each plant. So while we have wind, we have solar, there's now battery storage. They can all take place in the same land. And if you're intelligently looking at the plant you're making, you have to look at all three working in tandem. And so it's important as we build each of the plants that we think of it not just as a one-off project, but how to build an ecosystem there. One of the things that surprised me more and more as I'm meeting incredible players in the industry is that almost everyone is working in a silo. And so it shocks me that everyone's fruit of knowledge is not always shared to build upon. And since many suppliers, especially suppliers of equipment 3-4 years ago, may not even exist in the future, what happens is it's not that all the plants in Pakistan are using 3-4 suppliers. It's like everyone begins from scratch, does procurement. And I find that a little bit inefficient. In other industries, we could have more mentorship because there's enough room for everyone. And so that's something that would surprise me a lot. And when we're building our projects, we're very much looking for helping others along as well. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think your point with regards to the collaboration is very important, and of course the other points are equally important as well. So next up we'll go to Ms. Sophia. Ma'am, we'll especially like to know with regards to the energy efficiency and technology relationship, plus the IoT-based energy management systems that you're working on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm from an IoT company, and we build solutions for smart energy monitoring for industries and enterprises mainly. I think, first of all, as Tara said and Salman have said, there is huge opportunity with renewables as you can decentralize the energy production. We work mainly with, the demand side. And we have seen a lot of inefficiencies on the demand side. So I feel that, you can work on increasing the production capacity of the energy, but we also need to fix the demand side inefficiencies in our systems. There are, like when we work with, for example, enterprises, the cooling systems, because mainly the cost of energy in our region is the cost of cooling. And these systems are highly inefficient. We have also showed it. I was just talking to Naz as well, that we've even showed it to, one department at K Electric as well, that, their air conditioners are not efficient. So that's just one example. There are industries that are, what do we have in industries are like motor pumps, compressors, boilers, and they are also running on really highly inefficient from our experience, where we have gone in, we have showed our customers what the efficiency levels of these units are. And that's mainly because there is no investment going on the demand side efficiencies. So there is a cost of also upgrading these units. When we talk about these industries, they are running on equipment which they probably bought in the 1960s. There are industries that way as well, and there are also some that bought upgraded in 80s or 90s. But that's the machineries have run out of their lifetime, and they are running on quick fixes over there. So there is when we talk about production, we also need to look at the inefficiencies there in the industries as well. Similarly, I also feel if you talk about consumers, although we haven't gone in that space, but still, I think that, most of our consumers, as I also saw today, that, about 60% of our consumers are, 200 units or less kind of a unit. So they are in that segment. And we also need to look at their, the refrigerators that they own, or the air conditioners that they own, or the fans or whatever, what kind of inefficiencies they have. As we move more on these kind of solutions, which are more producing DC energy, the renewables, maybe there has to be an incentive from the policy side to promote DC devices, DC appliances in households, which are more efficient, because we are talking about now reducing the transmission losses. If we can go for decentralized production, then we can look at these kind of, that's an opportunity, I think. So that two things, my point is that two things, focusing on supply as well as increasing the demand efficiency, demand side efficiencies should go hand in hand, and has to be proper investment on that side as well.
Thank you. I think I'll just like to relate it to industry-academia linkage as well. So I think the academic research and the industry, if they find some collaboration there, I think this can further increase. So thank you very much. So next up, we'll go for Ms. Hira Wajahat Malik. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Just some quick thoughts on this. We're talking about technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. When we talk about technologies, mostly we start talking about solar or wind as our primary energy generation technologies. And it's important to understand that these are not the only ones, but it's not absolute. I need to integrate these energy generating systems with other complementing technologies that will enable an overall system. And when I'm talking about a system, it's not just the input, but also everything that will enable the output that I want. And in this aspect, it's not just like Uzra talked about partnerships. It's not just the suppliers. It's not just the companies. It's also our entrepreneurs. It's the businesses. It's the advocates who talk about policy change. It's the government who will bring in certain policy changes, right? And it cannot be in absolute terms only for generation or just for transmission or distribution of energy. It has to be across the line. So we all kind of need to sit together, take a look at not only the hardware tech, but also the software. What are the systems that we are using to design these energy transmission and distribution systems? I remember doing a consulting assignment a couple of years back, and I don't know if the scenario has changed, but as of 2019, somebody in one of the, I think on the distribution side said that we're still using really old SCADA systems to design. And because these systems are so outdated, they don't complement the integration of renewable energy. The understanding of the people who are designing these large grid systems in terms of what renewable energy can do for you, what else do I need to understand in terms of storage to complement those systems, that understanding is lacking. So we need to fulfill all of that. But in addition to the design side, it doesn't go without having business modeling put into place. So who would this, well, we have all the sellers, but who's the purchaser going to be? How do I make it easier for everybody to be part of this energy value chain? And where can I bring in my innovators? So the startups that nobody wants to work with right now, because they'll take time to develop a technology. But let's say a big company like an energy supply company can see where in the value chain it doesn't make sense for them to start going into those minor things. And let's have these technology innovators solve those problems. When I look at countries like Germany, for example, there's a lot of stuff we can't really take from them and implement because we're a different monster as Pakistan. We have a different kind of a people, a different kind of a mindset, different kind of technology adaptation, understanding, finance. It's not possible to do everything, but there are some really good elements we can take. So for example, technology transfer. In Germany, for example, so because I do a lot of work with the startups over there, they have the energy companies throwing out things like innovation challenges in collaboration with the government, things that they specifically need. And then they have all these entrepreneurs come up with their technology solutions and innovations, push it forward. They'll work on it collaboratively. The investment will come. So they develop these new business models. They bring in these policies to support financing. And it's all across the board, every single stakeholder. It's not just, they need to do this or they need to do this. They all need to sort of work together. And when they're doing that, there's a lot of technology we can talk about. So for example, energy from tidal or wave energy, or developing new forms of battery and energy storage, or even hydrogen fuel. But for a country like Pakistan, it might become too cost absolute. We don't have the kind of financials to invest in it. So can we think about doing other things like energy efficient practices and measures? How can we save on the cost and resources? But we need to be creative about it. And we need to get everybody's thought process and creativity on this before we can say that this is the right way or the wrong or the correct way to go forward. And I think the last point on this would just be that it's not about just making the policy or implementing the policy. It's also about just one thought that occurred to me this morning. There's an entrepreneur sitting in the audience here who's been chasing me. Ready projects. We just need financing. Who's going to bring in the financing? Who's going to bridge this gap? So all of these are real challenges. And as somebody who works with young people in the technology side, it's not one or the other. We really need to work together. We need to have a collectively thought out strategy in line with what our country's vision should be and what our country can really afford to do. keeping in mind that the finances may not always be there, but how do we bridge that gap?
Thank you, Hira. So next up, we'll move to Mehfooz Qazi Saab. He'll update us on the Sin Solar Energy Project. So thank you.
Thank you. It's really a good opportunity for me to have the regulatory affairs and the entrepreneurship staff with solar stakeholders here. I just want to brief about Sin Solar Energy Project that was initiated by Government of Sin, not as a public sector usual project. That investment has been acquired from the World Bank for $100 million, install the solar and go back, and usually the public sector project execution completed. In fact, the idea from behind this project was to have investment of $100 million to provide an enabling environment for the private sector to play its part in dissemination of the solar technologies. And we were expecting up to now at least $2,000 investment in the solar sector. But what after execution of 3 years of the project, what bottlenecks we have, and I would like to share with you for your support and for your help. Component one was for 400 megawatt on-grid solar power technology. As we remember that in 2017, when NEPRA excluded the upfront tariffs and they say that now the competitive bidding will be started. During the 5 years, still competitive bidding has not been started. We have initiated a project of 350 megawatt at Karachi, where power purchaser will be K Electric, and we have developed our RFP document that we are going to submit NEPRA for its approval. And I will take opportunity to request Excellency Chairman NEPRA for his support so that this RFP is approved and then we may initiate. We have also hired the consultancy transaction advisor for this competitive bidding so that through the bidding, this IPP project model may be implemented. Under component 2, we initiated the rooftop solar to have the solar companies, they have an opportunity to install the solar and enhance their business. What we have achieved up to now, 15 megawatt solar rooftop government buildings has been solarized. Still, our other projects are on its way. The third component was the small solar home systems, just plug and play to have the rural areas where the small solar systems may take the energy requirements of the rural people. What is the state? Under our project, we designed that 40% subsidy will be provided by the government and 60% will be obtained from the end user through installments. During the last 1 year, we have 9 solar power companies and only 3,000 systems has so far been disseminated in the market. So I just request all entrepreneurs of the solar power that as government, we are trying to provide enabling environment and we are trying to have 50%, 40% subsidy for the projects so that the market for these small solar systems may be established. So we are again initiating a new round for these solar companies that should be deployed in the different districts for the dissemination of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mehfooz Saab. So I think we've come to the end of the panel. There was very important discussion with regards to technology integration, technology transfer. Being part of the China-Pakistan Young Workers Forum, I've been advocating the technology transfer as part of the CPEC as well. So I think this is something very important. And Mehfooz Saab, thank you for briefing us on your project, and especially I think we got to know that there are certain things that are needed to sort of being extra pace to be added to the approval mechanisms with regards to on-grid, rooftop, and rural electrification. So I'd like to thank the panel, and if you can kindly take your seats, and we can start off with the next panel, please. So for the next panel, I would request Mr. Hussain Talib, who is Head of External Affairs, to take the proceedings forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Ahad, and thank you everyone again for joining us. Next one is something that's really close to my heart. We've been working with Chairman NEPRA's team and learning more about CTBCM and power wheeling for the better part of 2 years now. We've got a great panel, great number of speakers will be joining us on stage today. But before that, if I can request Tausif Farooqi Saab, Chairman NEPRA, to come and join us on stage for a quick overview and a question that I'd like to ask on behalf of the audience. Tausif Saab, for the benefit, I think, of this larger forum, if you could give us an understanding of the CTBCM model and its impact on bringing more renewable energy into the grid.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me today. Two things made it possible. One is there was a Senate Standing Committee meeting at 10:30 today, which got postponed. And the second thing is a constant push from Halima to personally come, and because she said that your audience would like to hear you personally. So it's truly a pleasure. Today I'm realizing why Unilever is Unilever. Seeing this fantastic facility that you have, that shows the openness, the progressive mindset you guys have. So I'm really honored, humbled to be here. Never ever in my dream I ever thought that I'll be sitting one day in Unilever and giving you guys a talk. So it is truly a pleasure. Thank you. So CTBCM, in my past time, I say quotations as well. So one of my personal quote is, leadership is the art of making impossible possible. In power sector, we just replaced these two words, and what we did was we made possible impossible. Unfortunately, when I landed here, not unfortunately, I landed here. When I landed here, unfortunately, I realized that the power sector was in dire states. And the biggest issue is, let's say if I compare power sector with telecom sector, my father was a principal in a college, and on the recommendation or special interest of the chief minister at that time, we got our telephone connection in 1.5 years. And people brought sweets to our house that, Mr. Farooqi, you got telephone connection in 1.5 years, because the average waiting time at that time was 12 years. So what made that change? Now you can literally get a connection from the next shop, closest to your house, and you got a choice. You can get Jazz 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. There are two things required to reach this state, from 12 years waiting time to instant getting the service or whatever. Two things only. One is technology and the other is competition. We very much have the technology in power sector right now to make it happen or comparable with the, let's say, telecom sector, to reach or take our service level to that quality level. But the only thing we have been blocking was competition. So CTBCM is now giving the choice to the customer. Right now we are going on the wholesale market of more than 1 megawatt. We call them BPCs, bulk power consumers, like you were just explaining me a few minutes back when we were having a chit chat, that all your 4 facilities are now BPCs. They are using more than 1 megawatt. So from our definitions point of view, or what is in our service consumer service manual, you qualify as BPC. So now we are giving you a choice to buy electricity at your own choosing, rates, technology, location, whatever it is. And the major difference between wheeling and CTBCM is, in wheeling, even though theoretically we are saying that you can buy and sell electricity from anywhere to anywhere in Pakistan, but it would have had its own challenges going beyond one disco to another disco. But now with the CTBCM or competitive trading contracts bilateral market, you can literally now have a bilateral contract in the north of Pakistan, and you can draw electricity in the south of Pakistan. We are coming up with a power exchange. So all your supply needs to do, let's say if you are having a bilateral agreement with a hydro plant, all he needs to do is just put his units in the system. Once the units are gone to the system, and you can draw from it anywhere in Pakistan. So that buy and sell is completed. We are going to put 1 meter there and 1 settlement meter there. Once these fiscal meters are going to record that this much electricity has been sort of uploaded and this much electricity has been downloaded, you guys are done. And in case your preferred supplier could not be able to supply you electricity, The system is going to provide you. So you don't have any risk per se that if your supplier fails to provide you electricity for whatever reason, you are still very, very safe. The only downside is that you are going to pay at the marginal price, which is going to be the highest rate in that hour. So you have to ensure that you are getting into a business with the most reliable supplier, so that you don't get, I mean, eventualities are there, and you can always sell your excessive electricity to the system at the marginal price. So you have the upside, you also have the downside, but we have already done lots of calculations, and overall you will be definitely in money. You will be much, much better off with this arrangement.
Wonderful. Thank you. In terms of renewable energy, which is the context of today's this dialogue as well, what kind of input and role do you see in terms of speeding up renewable energy through CTBCM?
Somebody exactly asked me this question long time back, that where are you expecting the suppliers to come forward? I said, did you ever think that your next door shop would be selling the telecom connection? Never. Similarly, the only thing that happened once you opened the market, the private partner, the players or the market forces, they acted. Once we are going to open up this market, we are already having a very upbeat response from the market. The investors are very upbeat about this intervention or this entire CTBCM model. I mean, like yourself, Unilever, I can see the excitement you have seeing this opportunity. We have a supplier here, KE, even though they are probably taking it as a threat, but yet they are very excited about it, because competition is always very healthy. And if the competition gives a chance, a fair chance to all the parties to play, and under a playbook, and the rules of engagement are very clear, then it is a win-win situation for everybody, and competition always benefits the consumers. So I personally believe, with us opening CTBCM, lots of private investment will be there. We are doing a win-win-win situation for every stakeholder. Most importantly, the government of Pakistan, because government of Pakistan doesn't have now the capacity to further do the market expansion or capacity expansion, because we have almost reached an inflection point. As I was talking to you in the morning, we have to have an intervention, because this old model is not going to deliver anymore. So private sector investment is a must. And what can be a better way than mustering the investment from the private sector by giving them the fate in their own hands? So that's precisely what CTBCM is doing.
If I may put you on the spot, right, in front of this audience, is there going to be any preferential treatment given to renewable to encourage them to become suppliers?
See, all we are doing is trying to get out of this preferential treatment. When the market forces are going to play, they are going to determine their own preferences. So in Pakistan, we have seriously damaged our industry in past because of this preferential treatment, because everybody wants subsidies one way or the other. We have to get out of that. Electricity is a commodity, like you purchase any other thing, your makeup, your clothes, your house, your household stuff. Similarly, electricity is as much a commodity as anything else. So everybody has to understand that they have to pay for it. It's not a service to be provided by the government of Pakistan anymore. So we are trying to get away from this preferential treatment. But naturally, there is a natural bias, which is generally you have to pay more for a neat and clean energy. But coincidentally, renewable energy has become the neatest, cleanest, greenest, and the cheapest energy. So coincidentally, this technology, we started from 17 cents per kilowatt hour. The latest tariff NAPRA has given is almost 3.2 cents. So this is phenomenal, actually. So thanks to the advent of technology and the prices that slashed, So I personally believe that we need to get out of it and give a chance to the competition to and market forces to play actually.
So final question before I invite the rest of the panelists to join you on stage. We were with you on Tuesday where you shared, you were very kind to share that entire layout of CPBCM and the progress. We understand that you are currently in the testing phase, 6-month testing phase, half of which has concluded as of 31st August. Can you give us an idea of the kind of progress you've made and if you remain on target to launch by December?
Yeah, first of all, let me clarify one thing. This is not a test phase. It is a dry run with the real-time, real data actually. So all we are doing is we have stopped the commercial transactions for next 6 months. But anybody, right from 31st May 2022, this was my promise to the previous Prime Minister of Pakistan that I'm going to deliver CTBCM on 31st May 2022, and I should write a book on that actually. I mean, the up and downs of that was phenomenal actually. But I'm so happy that I delivered it right on 31st of May. And we have given 6 months to CPPAG, who's the leading player on the driving seat of this initiative, that the actual commercial transactions will not take place during this period. But the calculations, or like last month, we had more than 1 million transactions. Every single transaction that is happening in the power sector of Pakistan is now coming through 739 meters that we have installed all over Pakistan. And every single disco, every single BPC, every single generation plant, they are now, for their inputs or outputs, they are being monitored. And we are preparing a report. Based on that, we are calculating a marginal price on the real data, actual data. And this, the only difference that is going to happen on 1st of December, because 30th November, this test period will be completed, that the transaction will start happening in real time. So anybody interested in CTBCM is more than welcome to, I mean, if they want to get out of or get away from their preferred discos, for example, KE, all they need to do is just give them a 1-year notice and find a bilateral partner to supply you electricity with, and then you are in business.
Wonderful. Wonderful. On that note, sir, may I ask the rest of the panelists to also join Tausif Saab on stage? First off, we've got Mohammad Ayub Sahab, who's the Deputy Managing Director for the National Transmission and Dispatch Company. Omar Haroon, who is the Head of Strategy and Power Market Development for CPPA, is joining us online. We've got Mr. Abdul Hannan, who is the Vice President for Supply Chain at Unilever Pakistan, representing the industry. We've got Ms. Sayyida Hadika Jamshed, Climate Change Policy Specialist for the Ministry of Climate Change, who's joining us online as well. We've got Mr. Umar Malik, who is Chief Executive Officer for Shams Power. He can join us on stage as well. Actually, he's about to reach. And we've got Mr. Zishan Ashfaq, who is the Managing Director of Socio-Economic, who's joining us online as well. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. Ayub Saab, if I may begin with you. Tausif Saab shared a wonderful overview of CTBCM, and of course, in context of renewable, there's this real opportunity that we're seeing. Sir, the mic is on.
Yeah. Yes.
In terms of the transmission network, what kind of preparation and opportunity is NTDC seeing, especially once come the 30th of November? How do we then scale up really quickly?
Yes. Thank you. First of all, I will thankful to you by arranging such a wonderful session, especially for energy, because I have seen a lot of gap between the private sector and the government sector for formation of this new renewable policy, which is to be implemented, inshallah, very soon. So first of all, the dream, I will say it's a dream for Chairman NEPRA that she has started, and Alhamdulillah, this is now in a final stage now. And the prerequisite which were required for this, especially for CTBCM, was the grid code, and we have to submit some grid code of that was revised after a long time. It was first on 2005, and then it is now revised and review, keeping in view of new hybrid transmission system of what like a DC system is in, and then we have a solar, then we have a wind. So all these things we have submitted that grid code now, and hopefully it will be approved by the NEPRA very soon. So the government policy, you see that is first is that we have to increase our renewable resources, because the old resources which we have creating a big price, and the basket price is very sharply increased because of this imported fuel like coal. No one can think that the coal price can increase about 5 times, and the same is RFO. This is not available. So while keeping all this, we have a plan that we should increase our renewable resources up to 60% in the coming in the new IGCEP. IGCEP is under preparation, and hopefully it will also be submitted within a week time. So on this IGCEP, what we have done that we have planned to increase our renewable from solar up to 8,000 megawatts. So keeping in view from 2023 to up to 2031, we are planning this one. And then in the first stage, we have already hired the land in Muzaffargarh, a very big one. And this will be a gradual process of adding 1,000 each year of solar and 500 up to wind. So this is a big task, because it's not on operational point of view. It will take a challenge for especially for NTDC.
Yes.
Because adding solar and wind has intermittency issues, and we have to keep it also in consideration, and we have to consider our base load, that what should be our base load for this one. So all these challenges, we are now working on it, and Alhamdulillah, our team is very capable. They are doing this one, and gradually we will increase this solar and wind. As compared to the CTBCM, you see that CTBCM will also give us a very good challenge for everyone, for giving a transparency in the transmission of the system. And also you see that the CTBCM has a misconcept. Most of them are not still understanding that what we are going to do. So they have some issues of discos, like discos are the doubtful that they're good, and consumer will be left. And others have also some issues that when this bilateral agreement will be done, then what will happen to our consumer, how we will manage our losses, how we will contribute our circular debt, and all these things. So I think we should have some awareness to our all such peoples. We have meetings with these stakeholders, so that we will understand them that it is not a hurdle for them. It will be a good, and what Chairman Saab told, that it is a competitive market, and the competitive market will always be good sign for everyone. Definitely we will have challenges. We will accept their challenges, and then we will get the solution of this one also. Everything is possible, but we have to see and look forward for the betterment of the Pakistan, that how we will go out of this circular debt, and how we will reduce our losses, and how we will improve the poor consumer of our country, because they are now just crying because of these last 2 months rise in the price. This was a big issue for us. We have to see this one, that maybe when they have a good renewable resources available with our system, so they can use that one and then can reduce the price also. Exactly. And the other thing is that we should have some media campaign on it, that how we can do it, and how we will get the good suggestion to reduce these prices, like these things. Sure. So this is, thank you.
And this is the 8,000 that you mentioned. This is the 10,000 that the Prime Minister mentioned yesterday. This is going to be in addition to that?
Yes. Yes, it is last in the previous meetings, this have given the challenge that 8,000 we have to be added in the system. Then you will get the 60% renewable energy in the system. And if the 60% energy will come to our system, then our price will definitely come down. This is the issue. And we are going to retire our less efficient plants, like costly efficient plants. So, but it will take time.
It will take time.
It is not possible that suddenly we will say that, okay, you can shut down, and then how we will manage all these things.
Exactly.
So this is the gradually process will be start. We are now on right track. What I said that we are now on the right track, and this right track, if we will work hard, we can achieve our milestone. What I
Good
think.
to hear. Good to hear that, especially the positivity about being on the right track. And that's what we need.
Thank you.
We've got Omar Malik Saab, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Shams Power, representing, and I put a lot of burden on your shoulders, representing the renewable power producers, suppliers of the country. We've heard a lot of positivity from Chairman Saab and, of course, Ayub Saab in terms of the kind of potential that CTBCM especially offers. Can you highlight some of the challenges that you're foreseeing and how we can perhaps work around them in ensuring that renewable becomes an increasingly larger part of the energy mix in the country?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here, especially with Chairman Saab here. I'd just like to take baat zara lambi ho jayegi, but I think context dena thoda sa zaruri hai. So the business that my company is in, we sell power to private customers, bulk power consumers. And under Chairman Saab's leadership, NEPRA issued us the first distributed generation license, which allowed us to sell power to BPCs. This was not possible before that. So people said Pakistan mein ye nahi ho sakta, but NEPRA, under the regulations, did allow for it. So we're very hopeful now that, inshallah, with CTBCM, we will be able to go the next step. But what is the need for it? So, companies like Pepsi, Unilever, Nestle, who are our clients, we're able to sell them power limited to the space they give us on their premises. Usually 1-2 megawatt lag sakta hai. But a client that has a 10 megawatt continuous load needs 240 megawatt hours. I, with my 1 megawatt on their roof, am only able to give them 4. That's like 2% of their power. Where is the other 98 going to come from? It's basically grid power that they get. So now that CTBCM allows us the ability to inject renewables into the grid for this BPC, it opens up the possibility for these customers, like the likes of who are here, who have RE targets to meet. Their investment in Pakistan in the future, believe me, is going to be driven by whether they are meeting those RE targets or not. Because regionally, इनके ऊपर बहुत सारे constraints डाल दिए गए हैं. That by 2025 or 2030, you have to be carbon neutral, and they're scramming for stuff. They're scramming to set up, captive power generation on bagasse, on biomass and others. The challenge that we are facing is that what do we do for what was previously in the wheeling policy, banking ka concept, that is now not there. So it has been replaced by you have to supply power to customers continuously. Once a BPC comes off of the regulated regime, now the supplier is responsible for that. If we can figure out a way to make that economically still viable, and I think the idea of doing marginal cost is fine. Once a BPC decides to come off the subsidized regime, marginal cost, but ironing that out with some pilot cases, like there is some clarity for customers. There has been some ample communication, but on the receiving end, there is still some lack of clarity of what it would translate into. So maybe some pilot cases where once it gets implemented, they actually know how it is working. So once that starts to happen, you will see that ये जो 8,000 megawatt या 9,000 megawatt है, in my opinion, this should be driven by private sector. The government should not be in the business of guaranteeing returns to any investor. Of course. The private sector should find its own clients. Those clients should guarantee whatever returns they're guaranteed. वो भले 12% है या 25% है. This should be between the counterparties. And I think that can only happen if the framework is in place to ensure that those returns can be generated. I mean, we have to be very conscious of the fact today our sovereign is trading at 30% plus in dollars. So if these investment opportunities don't offer adequate returns to investors, nobody's going to come into them.
Wonderful. Fair enough. So I think, Hanan, it becomes a natural segue to come to the industry and ask your opinion, because of course, Omar is putting a lot of impetus and responsibility on bulk power consumers, which will be the driver for any kind of success for CTBCM. What kind of opportunities are you seeing for industry, and how can we contribute to ensure that this model remains successful?
Thank you, Hussain, and thank you, Tasif Saab, and the rest of the panel to be here. So just using Unilever's example to explain what kind of an opportunity this whole arrangement gives us. So Unilever's journey of getting out of the carbon emissions started back in 2008 when Unilever made this commitment that we will, despite the growth, we will bring down our carbon emissions, and there are certain targets that we set for ourselves. Initial 5 to 6 years, the focus was more on the consumption side, where we were bringing consumption down by around 10, 15, in certain years, 20, 25% every year. And by the virtue of that, we were able to bring our carbon emissions down till 2013, 2014. And that is when we then actively started to move towards the renewables on our sites. So this year, we are drawing around 50% of our energy from the renewable resources that we have put at our sites. But now, I was sharing with the Chairman Saab this morning as well, that we've hit the ceiling of that opportunity because the facilities at site, the infrastructure at site allows you to reach to a point. But over and above that, now you need new land, new space, new resources to basically land that. And for that, we are looking at more specialized partners. And for that, this is a very, very important development. And thank you, Chairman Saab, for making it happen, pioneering this for the country. I think this creates that opportunity for the early movers like us to go from that 50% to 100%. So that is one. And just building on to the challenges, I think one challenge that already my co-panelist mentioned, and that is with respect to especially wind and solar, because by design, these are the two renewable sources which will be fluctuating in its power generation, and that is where the banking becomes really, really important. And I think in the new regime, that is something which we need to find a solution that how can we allow that to maximize the benefit of this this arrangement. That is one. The second one, and I think that is our experience from the collaboration with the government authorities, and in this arrangement as well, there are discos, there is NEPRA, there will be a private. I think the second challenge that we foresee, and that is where we would look to, how do we basically solve for that? And that is to, simplify the interfaces for the businesses to make it more, make it faster, make it more transparent, and make sure that, the value is maximized, not only for the companies, but also for the country.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll bring some of the online participants in as well. Zishan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Zishan, I would like to get your view as Sovetech on a similar perspective as we asked Umar. What kind of opportunities and what kind of support is the industry looking for in terms of scaling up renewable energy in the country?
First of all,
switch on
you.
Your camera, please.
Just a moment. Yes. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to become a part of this panel. And I would also like to appreciate the efforts of SDPI and other organizing partners who have made this conference a success. So my name is Zishan, and I work with Sovetech, which is one of the leading renewable energy developers with its headquarters in Germany, and we have a very strong footprint in Latin American markets, particularly Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. And we entered the Pakistani market a couple of years ago, and so far what we have encountered is the policy inconsistency. I would be very candid and frank in my discussion, because in my opinion, the main support, as you have asked, that what kind of support that the industry needs, to reach the RE targets and to make, CTBCM a success. In my opinion, the main support that the industry requires is consistent policy measures, both for reaching RE targets set out by the country and also for the effective implementation of CTBCM. And, it is important to highlight some of the inconsistent, policy decisions that not only slowed renewable energy market growth in the country, but also dented investors' confidence. In the past 5 years, we have seen, starting from December 2017, the Cabinet Committee on Energy took a decision, and it virtually banned new renewable energy deployment, in December 2017, and later in March 2018, the Renewable Energy Policy 2006 got expired. And, it was good that in April 2019, CCOI reversed the decision of December 2017, and it basically classified various projects under development into three categories. And the third category was a category in which the LOI holders were asked to compete among themselves, but that has never happened. And a year later, in October 2019, alternative and renewable energy policy. In October 2020, in fact, sorry, the alternative and renewable energy policy 2019 was announced and finalized after deliberations of around 2 to 3 years, and consensus was reached between the federal and the provincial governments, and the policy was approved by the Council of Common Interest. And so far not a single megawatt of capacity has been added under the policy, let alone initiating any project. And now the government is working on a new solar policy or a new solar initiative to replace imported fuel power plants, which is a welcome move. However, the same could have been done under the ARD policy 2019, because it categorically says that wherever necessary, the existing thermal generation will be replaced with renewables if the marginal cost of that thermal generation is higher than the levelized cost of electricity of renewable energy technologies. And another important element that must be mentioned here is that the current focus is on solar PV deployment only, and wind is missing from the equation altogether. We feel that both sources of energy have their own advantages and must be harnessed on their own merits. The wind is, in my opinion, is more efficient than wind, and it synchronizes well with the peak demand hours in Pakistan. And solar and wind should be seen from a complementarity angle, and they should not be seen separately. Yeah. And power system, or in fact the power mix is like an orchestra. Instruments from various families are combined to create a perfect music in an orchestra, and the composition is called symphony, as various instruments come together to create a perfect sound or music. And similarly, in the power system, we need such a symphony for optimal power supply. Instead of relying on a single source, simply symphony of renewables is needed.
That's a great analogy, Zishan, and I think the symphony is right. And on that note, I think it's also important to bring in Umar Haroon, who has strategy and power markets. Umar, if I could also ask you to weigh in here and share your thoughts on something that Ayub Saab mentioned a while ago, and in context of Zishan's analogy on a symphony, there's this fear, as Ayub Saab mentioned, by discourse and about good customers moving away, right? And in terms of the strategy that you're developing, how do you ensure that there is that balance to ensure that discourse remain feasible and profitable? So, Umar, if you could also switch on your camera, please.
Yes, thank you. This is Umar Haroon from CBPA. Unfortunately, I would not be able to switch on my camera because I am joined through my phone, unable to join through the laptop, so I will not be comfortable. So thank you very much for inviting me. There are two things. One is about the customers, and I thought there was a discussion earlier on the integration of the renewables and the flexibility in the grid required as well. So as far as the good customers going out, because we are talking about wholesale market in which we have the law says that 1 megawatt and above customers will have choice. Now, this is the experience that the world has learned in last 30 years, that the market is gradually opened from wholesale to retail because of several, I would say, kind of readiness issues that are there in terms of people, capacity, and technology, and so on and so forth. So as far as their implication is concerned, the concern of DISCO is right. However, there are a few costs which are called transition to competition costs, which includes the wheeling, which essentially are the wheeling charges, and they have three categories. Number one are the grid charges, which are the wire charges, and the distribution margin, all these costs that DISCOs do incur today. Plus, there is a term called cross subsidy, in which the big consumers today are subsidizing the low consumption consumers because they can't pay their cost of service, so they are subsidized in the tariff design by these big consumers. So this is the second thing, and the third thing is the stranded cost, which is the stranded capacity cost, because we have long-term contracts, take or pay contracts, in which we have to pay the capacity, even if we don't utilize we don't dispatch these generators even for one unit. However, we will still have to pay for their huge capacity cost for next 20 years. And because of the fact that the end consumer tariff is volumetric and mostly like 98%. And when you lose the volume in terms of kilowatt hours, so these capacity charges are they become stranded as well. So what has happened is that, this was discussed in detail. We actually learned from experience of different countries also. And now this has been coded and reflected in the National Electricity Policy. So the chapter 5.5, which is about the CTBCM, it talks about these costs. And so these costs will be adequately reflected into the tariffs as we move forward. And our chairman, Tosif Hassan Farooqi Sahab, is here. He can further, tell the details about what NEPRA is doing on it. But to my knowledge, there is a discussion going on that before the test run period ends on CTBCM, that is November of this year, these charges will be determined. So these charges will be adequate so that, the wheeling also moves forward, while DISCOs are also not like, they are not also killed in the process. So they should also sustain.
Wonderful.
So this is...
Sorry,
Yep.
Omar, you were saying something.
So, okay. The second important thing, I joined a little bit late. I heard someone talking about the RE's penetration. So as we move along, the planning process within DISCOs, they need to have new considerations in terms of planning and operations, because renewable will require more balancing and the grid will require more flexibility. And this flexibility will have, in terms of more reserves, in terms of other services, as the penetration increases. This question maybe is not material right now, but we have to keep an eye on it. So the main challenge that the DISCOs will have as we move forward, because the DISCOs and for on their behalf, the system operator will dispatch the generators. Then these generators, hydros and thermals, they will be dispatched on the net load, because VREs are intermittent. The system operator will have to have the flexibility in terms of dispatchable generators to dispatch on the net load, so that kind of challenge will come forward. But we will have regulations and we will keep an eye on it, inshallah.
Wonderful, thank you. Umar, building on what Umar just said, Tosif Saab, one of the thoughts that has come across as industry and BPCs have consulted on getting involved with CTBCM is the fact that once they move to a bilateral agreement, they will immediately be charged at a marginal rate for electricity, as you mentioned a little while ago as well. And in terms of business strategy planning, that variable cost becomes a point of concern for business continuity, especially. Is there an opportunity for CTBCM to allow a trial period with a bilateral agreement remaining in place and a supplier of last resort agreement also remaining in place?
Today's best takeaway for me is that Umar has agreed he is going to be the guinea pig. So I welcome that move, and let's work and implement CTBCM on a pilot project. Before you actually gave me this offer, I tasked one of my members KPK, to find one such pilot project in the province of KPK, so that we do the CTBCM implementation on a real project. But I welcome your move. It will take time. Every damn thing will fall in place. What I say, I lived in Abu Dhabi for 20 years, And I say the only difference between them and us is they have created everything out of nothing, and we have created nothing out of everything that God had blessed us with. And the only difference between these two strategies is, or these two accomplishments, is commitment. Their commitment with their country is unmatched. And we unfortunately are more committed to ourselves than with anything else. Once we have launched this, Ayub Saud was very extremely gracious when he said it was my dream. It was not at all my dream. I am the doer. I am trying to achieve a dream of this nation, which was seen 30 years back when we unbundled WAPDA. We had this dream of opening up a wholesale market. The dream was long pending, IGSEP, which our friends from NTDC were supposed to submit to NEPRA in 2005, and they are only 15 years late. So all I'm trying to do is all those pending things in this, our beloved Pakistan, which were there, I'm just trying to sort of bring them to action. On competition, if I ask you this question, you are Unilever, can you beg your customers to buy things from you, even if your service level or product level is zero? Can your competition care for your market share? Because if you have achieved 25% market share once, can you beg before them, please don't touch us, don't introduce a new product, don't add a new value for your customers, because we'll be shaken, we'll lose our market share. To hell with the discourse. I am Chairman NEPRA. I'm telling you one thing, only survival of the fittest. If they are going to perform, they will stay. If they are not going to perform, they are going to be doomed. And unfortunately, since the owner of all the discourse is government of Pakistan, with the this dooming of discourse, unfortunately, our country will be seriously damaged. I'm diverting your question to something else, because that is, I don't want to leave this place without sharing with you one very important aspect. Why power industry is so damn important. Just to give you numbers, because few minds understands number better than anything else. Last year, all three forces and all their associated departments with the nuclear plan and program and the missile program, they had a budget of 1345 billion. We alone in NEPRA cleared 2100 billion rupees of budget. This year, their budget has gone to 1400-ish, and we are going to clear 2700 billion rupees. This is the mammoth size of the power sector of Pakistan. And Pakistan, this is almost 1/3 of Pakistan's budget. We simply, absolutely can't afford status quo. We have to modernize ourselves. We have to move on. Just to give you one more example here, about 2 years back, this was all a theory that if we are going to sort of, give a chance for our consumers to have cheaper electricity, then they can do wonders. 2-3 years back, our World Bank and IMF, they projected Pakistan's GDP growth 1%. At that time, we proposed this, and thanks to the Power Ministry as well as Prime Minister Office, before the ex-Prime Minister, that instead of wasting our capacity, our plants' capacity, and giving them capacity payment without utilizing a single unit, why don't we give them, we are already paying them capacity payment, which is a sunk cost for us. We run the plants 100% and give cheaper electricity only at the energy price to all the manufacturing units and all that. Luckily, at that time, all the orders which were cancelled from India or Bangladesh during the time of COVID, they came to Pakistan. Our textile industry was not even running in single shift. They ran in 1 shift, 2 shifts, and 3 shifts. We gave 25% discount to large-scale manufacturing from the previous year's consumption, and 50% discount to SMEs. And we actually achieved 5.9% GDP growth. So there was a little tinkering done by the power sector of Pakistan, which has done wonders. I'm not trying to take all the credit for that. I think if at all, the credit should be given to Allah for giving us all those orders. but Pakistan has actually beaten IMF and World Bank's projected growth by 5.9 times, which is no less than an economic miracle. So the point I'm trying to make, in the last 2 years, we have practically proved that if we make this industry comparative, give cheaper units to our industry as well as people, they can do wonders. Everywhere in the world, it's the people, the businesses basically who lead the countries. The countries don't, it's never going to happen that 22 million people are one day going to march and they are going to increase the GDP, create jobs, create wealth. They are going to increase the foreign reserves and all that. It is always, and like I always say, we have an army and we are expecting, let's say, one fine morning, they are going to win us a war against our arch rival. That war may or may not happen, but we are financing them, this poor nation. Similarly, there's another war which is being waged at 24/7, which is a war on the business front. So we have to create an army of businessmen, equip them with the least cost of doing business, so that they can do all those positive things, win that war for us, create jobs, increase our GDP, foreign reserves and all that. So the example is, how can we change all this? At one point in time, Philippines had 44% losses. One fine morning, they all sat together and they said, are we going to continue like this, or enough is enough? They said, they decided no political intervention, no personal influence, and now their losses are 7.5%. Wow. So if they can achieve from 44% to 7.5%, why can't we do that? Exactly. And since the size of our power sector is so mammoth, and if we are not going to change things the way we have been operating the power industry of Pakistan, it is not going to take us anywhere. And the only reason we have brought City BCM is we have realized in Pakistan it is very difficult to fix a GT road, but it is much easier to build new super highways or motorways. So that's what we are trying to do, to create a motorway for you. Now, people like Umar, like yourself, you are going to be the one deciding, are you want to fly, cars, trucks, whatever. But the very fine motorway or highway is there, and that is our service to the nation.
Wonderful. That's a great analogy to complete this. And I think the headline for tomorrow, I think, should be, it's going to be survival of the fittest once CTBCM comes on board. Gentlemen and our online participants, thank you again for the time. If I may ask you to take your seats, we will start with the last panel of the day for today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. The next panel is requesting for the champion of CSR to still be the chair for the session. So I would request Tausif Saab to please keep his seat. So for the next session, which is on the socio-economic impact and corporate social responsibilities of renewable energy projects in Pakistan, I would request the moderator, Ms. Salima Khan, to take up the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Ahad, and special thanks to Chairman NEPRA for gracing the occasion and being with us till the end of this event. And the topic is socio-economic impact and the corporate social responsibility of renewable energy projects in Pakistan. I would like to request our panelists to come on stage. I would like to request Mohammed Ayub, the DMD for NTDC. Mr. Mohammed Ayub is currently working as Deputy Manager at the National Transmission and Dispatch Company. He has over 35 years of international and local experience in operation, maintenance, transmission, and generation distribution as well. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to request Mr. Ehsan Javed, who is currently working as the Research Fellow for Renewable Energy at SARC Energy Center, and he has over 12 years of experience in RE sector, where he has been responsible for conducting policy-based research studies
in organizing capacity. I think SN is joining us online. Now, I would like to request our next panelist, Ms. Shaista Aisha, who is currently the CEO of Seed Ventures, where her work is dedicated to nurturing an ecosystem where social entrepreneurs can thrive and the social impact of traditional entrepreneurship can be enhanced and scaled. Welcome, Shaista. I would like to request Mr. Asad Qureshi, who is currently working as the head of plant at FFC Energy Limited and has also served as its team lead for instrumentation and control systems. We have Dr. Sardar Muazzam, Managing Director of National Energy Conservation Authority. He holds PhD degree in public policy and specializes in the area of energy and environmental policy. Along with the other organization, he has also worked with ADB as energy expert for economic corridor development. Last but not the least, we have a wind with us, Mr. Fauzan Waheed. He's working as the head of sales, Pakistan and Oman at Vestas, where they design, manufacture, install, and service wind turbines across the globe. Prior to this, he had been working as in charge business at Descon Engineering Limited. Can I request everyone to give a huge round of applause for our worthy panelists? Thank you. Before starting this session, I would like to give another huge round of applause for STPI for arranging this, Unilever for supporting this, Energy Update, Renewable First, Stimulus, and GIZ for supporting this. A huge round of applause for everyone. I'm Halima Khan. I am working as head of corporate affairs and sustainability with Energy Update, Islamabad. Supporting this climate stabilization goals is a significant uptake for the renewable energy and energy efficiency measures. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay. So as per the study of IRENA, the impact on global GDP, this impacts the global GDP and renewable energy, and it increases the growth in RE jobs, employment and occupational by technology, occupational patterns and skills, localizing the value chain and ensuring community benefits. It also expands the energy access as well. I would first go to FFC for their presentation.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. And thank you very much, Chairman EPRA. Thank you very much, SDPI, for giving me this opportunity to discuss something about self-sustainability and socio-economic benefits of wind energy in Pakistan. I'll just brief you about the what FFC has done so far in achieving the self-sustainability in terms of O&M of wind farm in Pakistan, and along with that, some social and some CSR benefits out of this wind energy farm. So let's begin with the, I'll just start my presentation with, it's a story of FFC Energy over the 10 years of operation and maintenance. Okay. Having said that, FFC Energy is a subsidiary of FFC, which has a long experience of power generation in Pakistan. We were first pioneering the renewable energy, in fact, particularly the wind energy in Pakistan. We are one of the most diverse and socially responsible organization with management and enterprise risk management principles. Is the repetition? Okay. Moving forward, in order to, because we are the only operator in Pakistan who has not only the operate the wind farm, but own the wind farm, but also the operate the wind farm. So
based on the socio-economic conditions or the overall conditions of the country, we actually identified 2 key risks in local wind industry operation. First, excuse me, this is not. Yeah, sorry. There was the slideshow was not working. Sorry. In order to achieve these, we actually calculated 2 key risks in local wind industry. One was the unavailability of foreign experts, and second one was the unavailability of spares and complete assemblies in from the OEMs in Pakistan. In fact, there were a number of reasons which were definitely beyond our control. But what we have done to keep the promise of grow up by yourself, and for that, we not only trained our own manpower, but also benchmarked ourselves internationally. And we were the first to establish the industry's first and the only training center in Jamshedpur, which we actually benchmarked at the international level by GWO certified, getting the certification of Global Wind Organization. From that training center, in terms of social development or the employment opportunities, we trained almost 80 to 90 professionals, engineers and technicians from with the industry's first and the only wind farm. This is and the result is the self-reliance. On the other part, where we were actually facing the challenge of the unavailability of spares and complete assemblies due to the external reasons in Pakistan's socio-economic status, what we did is we rather than planning on the replacements of different parts, we maintain focus on repair and RCAs and export secondary markets and other areas of supply. And with that, alhamdulillah, we are operating our plant with 99% availability as a self O&M only company in Pakistan who does the operation and maintenance of our plant. This is just a glimpse of our journey, right from the inception of the plant to the operation. And moving forward, we are always supporting the wind industry by providing different services with our FFCs and other another company, Olive Technical Services. In terms of social development, with all these efforts, we as an FFC has trained and developed human resource for the wind industry. You can see these pictures. These are some of the students from the local areas of Jamshedpur. They were trained by the first and the only wind farm in Pakistan, the training center in the Jamshedpur area. And almost we have in fact trained almost 80 to 90 engineers and technicians in last 4 to 5 years. And most of them are working in wind industry, local wind industry in Pakistan. In terms of other areas, FFC has been contributing in preservation of environment. We have a big flagship project, Sarsab Jamshedpur, where we planted last year 6,000 neem trees, saplings. They are almost now 3 to 4 feet grown trees with the water conservation techniques, which is the drip irrigation system. We have been maintaining the flora and fauna of the area. In terms of water conservation, we as a socially responsible company do not lose any drop of water and reclaim all the water on our site. In terms of CSR projects, FFC Energy has provided healthcare facilities to the local areas in Jamshedpur. And in terms of community uplift, right from the transportation needs to the healthcare needs and these educational needs, water needs of the area, we have provided in all segments to the local community. So thank you very much. This is all about FFC Energy.
Thank you very much, Asad. And this was such great work on FFC's end. And we have now wind and solar with us. We are looking at the renewable energy sector. We are looking at the corporate social responsibility, and we do have some independent social responsibilities as well. And as individuals, we do have responsibilities. Now I'm going to ask a few questions from NTDC, Engineer Muhammad Ayub Khan. So, how are the renewable energy companies in Pakistan impacting the social aspect in the community, such as education, women empowerment, gender equality, and what are the CSR activities of renewable energy plants? What's your take on this?
Thank you. First of all, you see that NTDC is overall Pakistan, a big company which is dealing with all the 500 to 20 kV projects of transmission lines and grid stations all over the Pakistan. And you see, when now I am a deputy MD, and at that time when I was MD, first of all, what I have done that whenever we have a project, we have acquired a land of about 200, 300 acre feet for our power projects. So what I have done that I have made an directive that the land which is spare one and which is open and not occupied for control room or switchyard or anything, that should be cultivated through a tree. And every project of now in NTDC is starting with that project, that we are now have clear-cut directions that the tree plantation will be done on all such area in order to reduce the emission from the system. Now see that the government of Pakistan has a agreement with UN framework, with Paris Agreement. We have a national determined contributions, and keeping in view of that, what we are doing at that, we have a voluntary contribution at the end of 2030, that 50% reduction in emission will be done, and that will be done in such a way that 15% will be unconditional and 35% will be conditional. And then government of Pakistan, with the vision of that government of Pakistan, we are also have a 10 billion tsunami tree plantation program, which we have just launched in our system. Then we have decided that no generation will be done on an imported coal fuel. And we are now using our indigenous coal fuel, and that has also given a limit of emissions, carbon, but they are now bounded that there should not be any emission of that one. And then we are enhancing our protective line from 12 to 15% up to 2023. And a new energy mix policies which is made by government of Pakistan is 2021 to 2027, 2031. But we have already that at present we are solar of 3%, which is going to be enhanced on 2031 up to 20%. Then our wind projects, which is about 4%, that will be enhanced up to 10%. And hydel power plant, we are now at that time is 25%. That will be in 2030, it will be up to 32%. In this way, we will increase our renewable energy resources up to 60%. So these are the steps which are starting by the NTDC. But what I say that the social media is almost silent on this renewable energy and socio-economical progress. What we have to do is that in every educational institution should have at least up to 10 level, that the kids should be given this education that they have to plant at least one tree. So if we will not launch such type of media campaign, we will not be able to achieve this target of 10 billion tsunami trees progress. And you see that our climatic condition, which has been changed rapidly, and this is very abnormal for everyone. So all these changes can be controlled through such type of activities. by tree plantations, by we are looking over the efficiencies of all our equipment which we are using, that how we can save this energy, because the energy is going to be very, very expensive in the coming days. And if we are relying on our renewable energy of increasing 60%, so everyone has to give his role on this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayub Saab. With NTPC, do you think that these further steps will increase some job creations and further development for the well-being of the industry of renewable energy?
Yeah. Too much job. There is so many job opportunities will be available, because you see that whenever we have a project start with this one, we have an environmental department. And for environment department, when depending on the type of project, its size, we depute different type of environmental and geographical staff for our system. And then you see that for solar, especially, but the government of Pakistan has a vision that we have to make 8,000 megawatt solar in the coming next 10 years. So for these 10 years, we have a lot of chances of employment of engineers and road staff also. And what I will suggest that we should now focus to our education institution, that they should have a skill of this solar energy, especially, and renewable energy. And these technologies should be promoted like IT technology, so that we can have a good skill and good skill power available with us to cope up this new challenge of injecting 8,000 megawatts in our system.
Thank you very much. And we take this forward with this training and skill development from NTPC.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I would like to move to Mr. Fauzan Bahid from Vestas. He's representing international wind turbine manufacturers. From Vestas' perspective, what is the philosophy of Vestas in the CSR activities? And kindly highlight some CSR activities if Vestas is doing some.
Thank you, Arima. And first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be a part of these worthy panelists. I really appreciate the efforts being put in by SDPI and Unilever to have this successful event. So worth appreciating. So when it comes to the Vestas philosophy, first of all, Vestas is committed to respect the human rights, whether we are coming as a developer or as a supplier. CSR is basically an integral part of our business. And by integrating CSR into our business process, we are in a better position to lead the energy transition all over the globe. But just to give you an idea that how this CSR works in Vestas, we have our own social framework. And that social framework basically aims to start to earn the social license to operate in the local community. We call it as SLO. And that SLO we earn by identifying the potential risk to the human rights. We not only identify these risks, we try to prevent those risks and try to mitigate those risks. So this is the first process of our CSR strategy whenever we go for any wind project. In the second phase, basically, we create a long-term engagement, long-term value for the local community. And we prioritize to work with our customer, with stakeholders, with local communities to try to see the local needs of the community. And there is no one fit all approach, because it depends what comes out in a social due diligence that we conduct for almost every project. If we are going as a developer, and depends on the scope of the work as well. But whatever the needs of the local community, we address those needs by with community development programs. And we have more or less these programs which Asad has mentioned, and the program which MD NTPC has mentioned. More or less, some of the programs are quite familiar, but yes, these programs we started depending on the leads. For example, supplying the cooking stove, medical facilities, classroom preparation, all these things. It depends on what exactly the need of the local community. And not only that, we try to track the impact that we are creating out of these social community development program. Just to give you an example, that in the last 3 years, we have started multiple CSR projects in 15 countries. And the number of beneficiaries out of those CSR activities are 63,000. 33,000 are direct beneficiaries and 30,000 are the indirect beneficiaries. So we track the impact. We also record the social grievance we received. We record the percentage of social due diligence we conducted. We record the number of beneficiaries out of this CSR program we started. And and now this CSR, basically we have our human rights KPI, which is a part of our annual report. We record these things. These are part of our KPIs. So that is how we are implementing in our overall process. But one thing to highlight is very important, because sometimes we do not realize what impact we are creating on the local community. Just to give you an example, sorry if I'm taking too much time. In Kenya, we built a road of 207 kilometers. And that 207 kilometer road, basically we built that access road to transport our blade. But the impact that road created on the local community, that it reduces the transport time from 4 days to 4 hours. So look at the impact that the wind projects and the renewable projects are creating on the local community. So in order to continue this CSR activities even in Pakistan, I think it's really important, the continuity of the renewable project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fazan. I need just a minute of yours more. Does Pakistan fall in these 15 countries where you have started the CSR activities? Because looking at the socio-economic impact in the Pakistan market, does Vestas have these activities here in Pakistan as well?
Not yet, but not extensively. We have done some CSR project during the Corona period for Pakistan. But yes, we would like to do more. Of course, as I mentioned, it is an integral part of our business. And we are hoping that when we will be able to get more projects in Pakistan, we would play our role and contribute to the society and the local community, inshallah.
And we wish all the best to Vestas for this local community and local market of Pakistan. Now, I have a very interesting question from MD Nika, Dr. Sardar Muazzam. Thank you very much for joining us here. Regarding the energy efficiency, you have specialized in this field. What do you think what policy and regulatory framework are needed to further support the effective implementation of CSR activities in RE companies, and how we can make it more energy efficient for this industry?
Thank you very much. I think I'll just base my question, this question on some of my observations. I think globally, or from the economic standpoint of view, this is very well noted that infrastructure has its own money multiplier effect. And I think if you look at the socio-economic impacts in the corporate social responsibility, I think the uplift of the communities is something very important. And I think creating employments plays a very vital role when it comes to the socio-economic impacts, which can definitely be helped through the corporate social responsibility. I'll just add one fact here, that if you put $1 to the fossil fuel-based energy, you will create 1 job. If you put $1 to the renewable energy projects, you will create 5 jobs. And if you put $1 in the energy efficiency related activities, it will create 7.5 jobs. So overall, looking at the impact and how these investments that either come from any of these activities, from corporate social responsibilities or from the socio-economic impact that we want to create through the renewable energy projects, there is no doubt about it that this will definitely create the socio-economic impact at a broader level, because all these projects are not centralized at one place. They're all scattered. And then all this development, the whole impact is very diversified. So different communities across the country can take benefit from that. So I think that is very important thing. And looking forward into this through energy conservation in this, I think I will definitely always couple energy efficiency and renewable energies together, because once you have the conservation and then coupled with the renewable, that creates much more employment and much more opportunity in that. So I think corporate social responsibility and then bringing it into different organizations definitely needs a policy support. And I think different organizations can come up with their own ideas and take it forward with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just a quick question: that energy efficiency measures what NECA is doing for the energy efficiency measures to meet the macroeconomics of this renewable energy sector.
So I'll just highlight this point that we just 2 days ago approved the first ever National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Policy. We have already been working on it from quite some time, and now I think after approval from CCOE and CCI, the implementation in this area will start. I think globally in recessions, in COVID, in a number of times when it's tough time, the International Energy Agency and all the related organizations that really emphasize that this is the time that we, in times of recession, the more investment should go into this area. So I think that's what we are trying to do, that a lot of new projects with this policy opening up new space for the investment. And I think especially this is an area which has not been touched as it's needed in the past. So I think moving forward, this will be definitely the way we would like to go forward with that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sardar Muazzam. We have our friend Ehsan Javed from SARC Energy Center. Do we have Ehsan with us? He's online.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, Ehsan speaking.
Yes, Ehsan, can you hear us?
Yes, am I audible to you?
Okay. So, Ehsan, talking about the CSR activities and renewable energy in the renewable energy sector with the social economic impact, what do you think the global impact on the GDP and the welfare of these CSR activities, keeping in view that what renewable energy plants are contributing for the economic uplift and livelihood conditions for the local communities and local communities of Pakistan?
Thank you very much. My name is Ehsan Javed, and a research fellow at Renewable Energy.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ehsan. Your voice is echoing.
Can you hear my voice now?
Yes.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much to SDPI for giving us the opportunity to present at this SPEEM forum. It's a wonderful initiative by SDPI. I think the topic is very important as far as Pakistan is concerned because of this upcoming new renewable energy policy back in 2021. And with the government's intention to go for renewable, this is a very good initiative by SDPI. So congratulations to you first. So from our perspective, I mean, there are many firms in Pakistan who are investing in CSR as far as renewable energy is concerned. Public sector, private firms are also investing a lot in these activities as per their company policies. And if we speak on the renewable energy companies such as Gul Ahmad, Equinix, Reach Gorgeous, just to name a few of these wind companies, they have invested a lot for the employment, which emphasis on employment provided to the local workforce, be it semi-skilled or unskilled. Plus, on top of that, they have been providing internships to the fresh graduates which are belonging from the local community and providing affordable and clean off-grid solar electrification solutions to the community. So in my opinion, these initiatives are wonderful for uplifting the local community residing in those areas. because they are helpful for sustainable income and improved lifestyle of those people and availability of a clean energy source for them. Plus, if they have been providing soft loans for these businesses in local communities, so at least the local community is financially strong enough to acquire services such as education, health, water, and sanitation facilities. Plus, on top of that, a market for renewable energy products is developed in those local communities, which is very beneficial because if somehow some products are get faulty, so they can be easily replaced by these local markets available in the villages. So my point to just to make on this, a lot has been said on these all topics, and we appreciate a lot for the private and public sector for providing these opportunities. I know that NAPRA has also issued social guidelines for all the wind farms and solar farms and all the power sector players to invest a lot on CSR in their projects during implementation of their project. It's a great initiative. But my only concern is that are these projects implemented for the local community being monitored and maintained by the implementation agencies? For example, if a wind company or any solar company has implemented an off-grid solar electrification project in a village, so after the project was implemented, you know that the maintenance and monitoring operation of those projects are more important than simply implementing those projects. So my concern is that a lot of effort and finances may be required for operation and maintenance of those projects rather than just implementing them for the sake of CSR. Plus, on top of that, social projects like providing soft loans for the villagers. And my concern is mostly for the women. Women normally opt for the soft loans in those communities. So if soft loans provision is provided to those communities, what is the percentage or the quantum of that women community which has acquired those soft loans? Have they been able to acquire those loans? Are they reluctant to acquire those loans from these services provided by these companies? On the regulation side, I would just briefly touch on different best practice policies around the globe in Pakistan or in other countries like Europe and America and other Southeast Asian region. Many companies are investing through provisions to their CSR laws, guidelines, and principles are provided for the regard to the community and environmental issues. So in case of India, I would like to highlight one very good policy which I came through during the small research. Well, in India, in their Companies Act 2013, companies with a certain annual turnover of maybe a certain amount, maybe 500 crore or more than that, they are required bound to spend at least 2% of their average net profit in the previous 3 years on CSR activities in the local community. So this law could be what do you say, a lighting or kind of a guiding source for our policymakers, for our regulators to look into it, maybe look for some laws which are not only obligatory but are mandatory for those companies to do invest on those CSR activities. And if not, they should be penalized, I mean, through financial or any other aspect. This is very, very important. I mean, you are getting lot of benefit, financial benefit out of those projects in those local communities. So at least you should be able to give back to those communities in terms of support, in terms of facilitation or finances or something like that. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ehsan, and points well taken for the education empowerment, gender equality, health and water sanitation. And we have with us the champion of these activities, and we'll ask these questions from the session chair. But before that, I would like to go to our next panelist, Ms. Shaista. Shaista is working with Seed Ventures, and I would like to ask that this is like women empowerment is already happening here, and so I would like to ask that what could be the CSR activities in your point of view, and what do you think it's important to have CSR activities in the renewable energy sector?
So in the renewable energy or otherwise, the sector is very environment focused, and So you have to, when you talk about CSR or social impact or socio-economic impact, you have to not just look at the operational operations of a renewable energy plant, but you also have to look at the entire life cycle of that particular installation. So, for instance, it's not just about the energy that it is producing. It is, so if we look at solar, and we're talking about the manufacturing of solar panels, it's very carbon intensive, right? So you can't be producing carbon in one area and trying to offset in the other. So you have to look at the entire life cycle. Similarly, you need a larger piece of land to set up a solar plant, right? And it is about which communities are you displacing? What is the impact of the on the flora and the fauna of that particular area? Similarly, if we talk about wind, and in a country, giving the example of Sweden here, when they're putting up a wind power plant, from emissions to the kind of impact that power plant is going to have on the flora and the fauna, and the kind of shadows that it is going to produce, whether there's going to be noise or not. Similarly, how are you going to scrap the materials? What is going to be the life in terms of recycling after the turbines are done with? So it's not just about the environmental impact that or the advantage that a wind plant is producing. It is also about the impact it has when it is actually being set up. So what impact is it going to have on the biodiversity? What are the things that are going to change? Another thing around renewables is also that, a large part is dependent in its success, particularly in the wind industry, is your stakeholder management. So how and are you impacting the local communities, whether new jobs are being created or not? How are you dealing with the local NGOs? This is all part of not just your strategic business objectives. It is also about the social impact that you're having in the community. So your CSR cannot be separated from all these things. You cannot expect that if you're putting up a school or, let's just say you put up a medical center or XYZ, it has to be interrelated with the strategic objectives of that particular installation as well. And that's when the CSR is going to actually work in the long term, and it's going to be something that is sustainable.
Thank you very much, Shaista. I think the wind sector is already here, and they have answered these questions in a very brief, in detail, actually. And I think we have an answer from Asad on this. Yes. Would you like to add?
Yeah, I just want to add about the education side or the training side. We, in fact, like I just mentioned in my presentation, that we were the first to establish the training center for wind specialists in Jampi. And in our first batch, we hired all students locally from the Thatta district. And Alhamdulillah, after 2 years of training, they all are working in different sectors in different companies of wind energy. So this is just an example of the CSR.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I would like to ask our worthy panel chair, Mr. Tausif Farooqi, who is chairman, National Electricity Power Regulatory Authority, NEPRA. And what's your take on the CSR and socio-economic impact of renewable energy sector, and what NEPRA is doing for the uplift of the community, local community, and localizing the licensees for these activities?
Thank you very much. There are few things that you do for your body, and there are few things that you do for your soul. And doing a CSR project is directly serving your soul. As if my job was not that critical, I gave 4 more challenges to myself. The first one being power with prosperity. Very first time in the history of NEPRA, in 25 years since NEPRA is founded, I started asking my licensees, who are more than 300 plus, which is all top generation companies, transmission companies, and distribution companies, And when I say transmission companies, it is not NTDC only. Very first time in the history of Pakistan, I gave license to 2 provinces, Sindh and KPK, for the provincial grid companies. This is a monumental decision. I also want to give competition head on to our NTDC as well. Apologies for that. But nobody should sit tight in their comfort zone anymore. Everybody has to compete. So it is very gracious of my licensees, I would say, when I launched this Power with Prosperity initiative 2 years back, they rallied behind it with their souls, with their hearts, and we could be able to achieve some phenomenal results. We have created more than 38,616 jobs. That was the last number given to me in the last 2 years on the CSR front. We started asking our licensees what good work they are doing in the communities they are operating in. Are they doing any women empowerment, health, education, clean water, cheaper electricity? Because all these projects are long haul projects. None of them is less than 25 years. Hydro projects are there for more than 50 years, 70 years. And these nuclear projects, which Atomic Energy has set up, these K2 and K3 projects are good for 80 years. So in 80 years, you can imagine 3-4 generations will be grown up. So it is their sole responsibility to develop the communities they are operating in. So with these interventions that we have done, more than 38,000 jobs we have created. We have created 575 projects and almost 7.9 billion rupees of financing in these projects, and which is going to impact 19 million people, almost 2 crore log, which is huge. And so I'm very thankful. I also set up a Power with Prosperity fund with the Host Foundation, in which 4 of our licensees, first Angro, then KE, then Kodadu Power Company and Port Qasim, they have contributed 30 million rupees, and they have already dished out interest-free loans. And on their generally their recovery ratio is almost 99.6%. But on our loans it is 100%. So ye chirag se chirag jalayenge, they are going to dish out more loans to more people, and more of our licensees are now coming forward after 1 year of this Akhwat Foundation Power Prosperity Fund. So these are, and very first time we have launched a very fantastic portal whereby we are monitoring all these activities online. So if you come to NEPRA, you will not probably find anywhere else in Pakistan monitoring such CSR projects on our fingertips. I exactly know in Sindh and Balochistan and all the provinces which company is doing what project on CSR. And we are also monitoring them under United Nations SDGs. So it is a phenomenal. We are also presenting this as a paper to United Nations, and Pakistan will inshallah be a case study on this front. So now that I've mentioned Power with Prosperity, 3 more initiatives that I've taken, I would also like to touch upon them. Second is Power with Safety, and the theme is taken from Surah Maida, where it is mentioned कि अगर आपने एक इंसान की जान बचा ली तो गोया आपने पूरी इंसानियत की जान बचा ली. Very first time in the history of Pakistan, we have launched this initiative, जिसमें पाकिस्तान हम एक नेपरा के standards लेके आए हैं जो कि world class standards हैं, जिनको हमारे सारे licensees they are complying with that, and you will be amazed to see कि इस वक्त पूरे पाकिस्तान में बेतहाशा बारिशें हुई हैं, लेकिन not a single electrocution case. Even कराची में इतनी बारिशें हुई हैं. जब मैं आया था, नाज चली गई हैं, तो मैं बड़ा comfortably आपको बता सकता हूँ कि पहले दिन मेरे हाथ से जो पहला ऑर्डर निकला था वो ये था कि there were 29 fatalities electrocution से कराची. ये 2019 की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. तो मैंने केई को बुलाया और पहली मीटिंग मेरी जिस कंपनी से थी वो केई थी. नेक्स्ट डे ये लोग आए और मैन इन ब्लैक सूटेड बूटेड. मैंने उनसे पहला सवाल ये किया कि हमने आपको जनरेशन का लाइसेंस दिया, ट्रांसमिशन का लाइसेंस दिया, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का लाइसेंस दिया. जैसे क्वीन जो है वो जेम्स बॉन्ड को एक लाइसेंस देती है, लाइसेंस टू किल, ऐसा कोई लाइसेंस दिया हमने आपको? तो जॉज वर ड्रॉप. तो हमने ہمیں پتہ چلا جب ہم نے انویسٹیگیشن کی کہ پورے کراچی میں آدھے کراچی میں انہوں نے ABC ایریل بنڈل کنڈکٹر بچھائے تھے اور انفارچونیٹلی اس میں انہوں نے جو ارتھنگ کی کیبل تھی وہ اس میں رن نہیں کی. تو ہم نے 2,16,000 انڈیویجول پولز کو آپ کے کراچی میں ارتھ کروایا ہے, جس کا آپ میں سے کسی کو پتا نہیں ہے, لیکن مجھے اس کا ریوارڈ اپنے اللہ سے صرف ملے گا انشاءاللہ. اس وقت کراچی میں ساری اتنی ہیوی بارشوں کے بعد ایک بھی الیکٹروکیوشن کا کیس نہیں ہے, اور میں آپ کو اشیور کرتا ہوں کہ اگر یہ 2,16,000 پول انڈیویجولی ارتھ نہ ہوتے تو کراچی واز لائک اے ٹائم بام. میرے ساتھ بڑے ٹیکنیکل آدمی بیٹھے ہیں, یہ آپ کو بتائیں گے کہ ارتھنگ کی غیر موجودگی جو ہے وہ کتنا کیٹاسٹرافک ہو سکتا ہے. تیسرا انیشیٹو جو ہے وہ ہے پاور ود سیکیورٹی. ابھی میری کلیگ یہاں پہ جو IoT کو ریپرزینٹ کر رہی تھیں, پہلی دفعہ پاکستان کی ہسٹری میں وی آر لانچنگ سائبر سیکیورٹی regulations for the power sector of Pakistan. This was not originally our job, لیکن جب میں نے دیکھا کہ ہماری Ministry of IT is not launching any CERT computer emergency plan, تو ہم نے اس کو پاور سیکٹر میں we are launching it by ourselves, اور ہم اس کو ہماری regulations have already been approved, اور inshallah you will see us in action in entire power industry of Pakistan. Last action but not the least جو میں نے لیا ہے, that is basically we are trying to act as a bridge between academia and industry. اس میں the discussions have gone to a much advanced level. Yesterday I was supposed to meet the new chairman of HSC, but unfortunately my family met a serious catastrophe or tragedy. میری niece کا husband, he was just 32 years of age, he died of a cardiac arrest 2 دن پہلے. So I rushed to Lahore, so I was in Lahore for last 2 days. آج بلکہ اس کے 5 بجے اس کے کل ہیں, تو I'll be heading back after 1.5 hours. تو یہ ایک جس پہ بڑا زبردست کام ہو رہا ہے, بلکہ اس میں یہاں تک بھی ہم نے کیا ہے کہ انشاءاللہ we are trying every single engineering or even non-engineering guys joining the power sector کہ وہ جو بھی فائنل ایئر پروجیکٹ کریں وہ کسی ایک ریئل ٹائم کسی پرابلم کو سالو کرنے پہ کریں, اور فیکلٹی should spend at least 1 month if not more in the industry every single year. So these are few initiatives and I would not limit my discussion only to renewable energy, but جس طرح ابھی میرے دوست نے MD نیکا نے بتایا کہ conservation or even renewable energy is much more profitable in the sense of creating jobs, or creating jobs in Pakistan is definitely extremely important for us, کیونکہ پاکستان کے جو نمبرز ہیں پاپولیشن کے وہ بڑے اسٹیگرنگ ہیں. وی آر 5th largest country in the world as far as population is concerned. ہماری جو 65% population ہے وہ under 35 years ہے. More than 30% of our population is going to be under 15 years. So this could be a serious asset, or it could be a very serious liability if we are not going to put them on a right track. اگر اس کی انرجی ہم نے squander ہونے دی, if we are not going to channelize this energy, this could be very dangerous for us. So creating jobs is a must, اور اس کے لیے coincidentally, as I already said, neatest, cleanest, greenest, cheapest energy کے ساتھ ساتھ this is an area which creates the highest number of jobs. We should go for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Nepra, and we are very much thankful to your kind words. And despite of your busy schedule, you came here, and we are highly obliged and thankful. Now I would like to thank all my panelists for being in this panel and being very interactive. I think we have a comment from
thank you, Rasam. Just 1 minute. What I will say that ہم جا رہے ہیں رینیوبل انرجی کی طرف, اور رینیوبل انرجی کے لیے جو انویسٹمنٹ ہے وہ اتنی زیادہ ہے جو کہ پاسبل نہیں ہے ہم لوگوں کے لیے کر سکیں. ہمیں اپنی لوکل انڈسٹری کو پروموٹ کرنا ہے, تو اس کے لیے میں یہ کہوں گا کہ تمام اسٹیک ہولڈر جو ہیں رینیوبل انرجی انڈسٹری ڈکلیئر ہو جائے پاکستان میں, اور اس کے لیے ہم یہ چاہیے کہ جیسے اب سولر پہ ہم جا رہے ہیں یا ونڈ پہ جا رہے ہیں, اس کی جتنی چیزیں ہیں دیٹ شوڈ بی مینوفیکچرڈ ان پاکستان. جب جا کے آپ اس پرائز کو, باسکٹ پرائز کو بھی نیچے لے کے آ سکتے ہیں. تو ہمیں سب سے زیادہ فوکس یہی کرنا ہے کہ ہمیں وہ اسکلڈ بھی پاکستان میں جنریٹ کرنی ہے, اور ہمیں وہ لوکل انڈسٹری کو پروموٹ کر کے اس قابل کرنا ہے کہ وہ یہ لوکل لے کے آئیں چیزیں. جب تک ہم یہ نہیں کریں گے ہم یہ کامیاب نہیں ہو سکیں گے. میرا خیال ہے 2 دن کی جو ہماری یہ میٹنگز ہیں इसकी जो मैं समझता हूँ कि सबसे मेजर चीज जो है पिन पॉइंट करने वाली वो ये है कि हम अपनी लोकल इंडस्ट्रीज को प्रमोट करें हर लिहाज से। हम डिपेंडेंट हो जाते हैं चाइना के, हम डिपेंडेंट हो जाते हैं बाहर के, पैसे हमारे पास है नहीं है। पाकिस्तान में जैसे कि अभी उन्होंने कहा कि इम्पोर्टेड आप कोल भी नहीं आप ले सकते, इम्पोर्टेड आप बाकी चीजें भी नहीं ले सकते, जाहिर है कि हालात ही इतने बुरे हुए हैं। तो हमें डिपेंड करने के लिए दोनों चीजें कि हमें लोकल ट्रेनर भी चाहिए जो हमारे माशाल्लाह मैन पावर हमारे पास बहुत ज्यादा है, हमारे पब्लिक सेक्टर में प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स में बेताशा अच्छा पोटेंशियल पड़ा हुआ है जो ये काम कर सकता है। अगर वो लोकल इसको लेकर आए मार्केट में। देखिए मैं छोटी सी एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि जब पाकिस्तान में लोड शेडिंग का इशू आया तो आपने यूपीएस शुरू किए। पहले जो यूपीएस आए वो इस काबिल नहीं थे कि लोगों को मेंटेन कर सकें, उसके बाद आस्ता आस्ता इंप्रूव हुए, डिजिटल पे आ गए। अब इतने अच्छे यूपीएस अवेलेबल हैं जो कि आपको हर चीज को बड़ा मैनेज कर रहे होते हैं। तो अगर हम अपनी सोलर और विंड के लिए अपनी इंडस्ट्री को प्रमोट करेंगे तो इंशाल्लाह हम वर्ल्ड के साथ compete करने काबिल होंगे, हम यहाँ से इसको एक्सपोर्ट करने काबिल हो जाएंगे। तो ये मेरे लास्ट वर्ड थे कि मैंने कहा चलें ये मैं पिन पॉइंट कर दूं। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much for this takeaway. Now, I would like to request everyone to give a huge round of applause for our panelists. And I'm just handing over this stage to Ahad again. Thank you very much, sir.
जी Yes. So we have still the concluding session left. So I will request all of you to kindly keep seating. So thank you, Halima, and the panelists for an excellent panel. I think especially the points from Ayub Saab with regards to technology development rather than technology adaptation is really important. And this is something that we have seen in other countries, including China as well. So moving forward, and of course, this session is keeping everyone from the lunch. So we would try to hurry it up. I would request Mr. Amir Paracha, CEO Unilever, for his concluding remarks. Amir Paracha Saab is the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Unilever, Pakistan Limited. He joined Unilever in 2000 as an assistant brand manager, and he has previously served in the Royal Dutch Shell Oil Company, and he is also the vice president of Overseas Investors Chamber of Commerce. So
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and a very good afternoon. I want to first begin by extending my gratitude to the SDPI for bringing together like-minded stakeholders to uphold the cause of renewable energy in Pakistan. I wasn't able to basically attend yesterday as I was away, but I would like to take the opportunity that the platform was graced by various knowledge experts. In fact, I want to thank Dr. Abid Suleri, Mr. Khurram Dastagi, Minister of Energy, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, Mr. Ehsan Malik, Mr. Shahjahan Mirza from the Alternate Energy Development Board, Dr. Kolia, Deputy Director, Knowledge Policy and Finance Center, International Renewable Energy Agenda, Dr. Sebastian, Counselor Head for Development, Cooperation Embassy of Federal Republic of Germany, Mr. Yusuf Siddiqui, Chief Executive Officer, Engroup Private Limited, and everyone who made available their time and passion to create a sustainable power ecosystem in our country. Likewise, our learning was further enriched from the invaluable discussions in the panels. I know that all of you have shared what is required to be able to land the ambitions of the power sector and renewable energy. And it's my honor to acknowledge the commitment of Mr. Tawseef Farooqi, Director NEPRA, whose work to this ambition will be critical. Dr. Saab, it's very humbling to see your passion for the country, your commitment, and I think so, a person like you is certainly going to change the fate of the power sector in the country, which our country really basically needs the most. And I think so, you have said something very rightly, as a nation, we need to be more committed to the country than ourselves. And I think that's going to be changing the fate of this country. I, whose remarks I can hardly claim to add anything. Yeah, I'm not going to basically be adding anything to this. And I just basically have a brief introduction, Dr. Saab. And he was telling me, I never thought that I'll be actually coming speaking in a company like Unilever, who has nothing to do with the power sector. And I was telling in return, a company who's actually into selling soap and soup, never thought actually hosting such a technical subject on power, which is all about the fossil fuel. But I think so we all need to lean in, given the state of the country. And I think it's going to be very, very important that irrespective which sector you belong to, power is so critical. We all need to actually contribute to really, extend to the fate of the country. I would like to start out by reflecting, if the devastating floods prove anything beyond a speck of any doubt, climate change is no longer part of a distant future, but it's happening now, within our lifetimes, and will shape the future of our coming generations. The reality is sobering and urgent. Climate change impacts us all equally, yet the proportion is not always the same, because for a country like Pakistan, it stands to suffer from climate change far beyond its contribution. We all know that while Pakistan greenhouse gas emissions make up less than 1% of the global total, the country was listed on number 5 among the most climate vulnerable countries as per the Global Climate Risk Index 2020. In Pakistan, updated NDCs 2021, the government of Pakistan has set a target of an overall reduction, overall about 50% emission by 2030 from a 2015 base, which equates to an estimated reduction of about 560 million tons of CO2 equivalent by 2030. While we drive a sense of accountability across the world and create awareness of our need, we know that this is a challenge that is going to last and ensure. This is not a CSR. It's not a business responsibility anymore. It is now bigger than the right thing. It can't be on the sidelines. It's not a social corporate responsibility. It is the responsibility of any organization, of any corporation, of any individual, be from the private or the public sector. This is about survival. We must go beyond just emergency. Stopgap measures as a country to work with the stakeholders for rehabilitation, resilience, and preparedness. The humanitarian crisis is a climate crisis, and we can firefight from scratch every time, or we can ready ourselves for the future. And this is just not going to be an easy path. We either reduce our dependence on fossil fuel-based energy production, which depletes our natural resources whilst affecting our future through the generation of emissions that are warming our planet, or we accept the fate of ignorance. And I want to say that I'm aware of the contribution of us all to this issue. And we are now responsible for our part in the solution as well. And this starts with the mitigation. In line with our analysis of NDC show that mitigation must take priority for action. Pakistan has made voluntary commitments to have the priority to the projected emission by 2030. The nation will need hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. As a nation, we need around 101 billion US dollar to mitigate the carbon emission by 2030 and another 65 billion US dollars by 2040. And by the way, this does not include the greenhouse gas emissions from the agriculture and any other sectors. And this is a big ask, but it's not bigger ask than what we lose to the climate change in life, property, and infrastructure. And I do not need to talk anything further about it because as a country, we are going through a catastrophe. As a country, what we have seen in the last 4 weeks, the country has lost 10 billion US dollars equivalent of the property. And I think so, it's a telling moment. It's a moment that we all need to reflect, but not deflect. Other than its sustainability to the planet, renewable energy projects have the potential to improve energy security, provide socio-economic benefits, reduce local pollution, and mitigate climate change and have the right regulation in place to promote renewable energy. Unlike many others, in Pakistan, we have a strong potential to producing renewable energy, but still far behind much of the world in the developing these resources. We stand on the brink of massive renewable energy potential for renewable of our future. We can leverage technologies to bridge the gap between energy supply and significant demand gap in Pakistan, or we can redefine our energy journey. Expanding renewable energy can eventually make electricity cheaper, achieve greater security, reduce carbon emissions, and help Pakistan save around 5 billion US dollars over the next 20 years. Our energy mix is formed of 64% fossil fuel, 27% hydro, and 9% other renewable and nuclear power. And you can figure it out that our proportion of renewable energy is very low, particularly from the solar and wind. While yes, hydro is a part of the renewable energy, but it's a very expensive proposition. The capital investment the hydro takes is pretty high, and so is the unit cost. However, to achieve such targets, a massive and immediate expansion of solar and wind is required. Efforts to produce power generation from uneconomical thermal plants and continued investment in hydropower must continue as well. Hydropower, solar, and wind should remain Pakistan's preference. Pakistan needs to adopt a more pragmatic and long-term policy that incentivizes renewable and gradually enhances our contribution to the energy mix. And Pakistan shift towards 100% renewable energy would have to be generated practically possible and then transported where it is needed. The concept, as you all know, called power wheeling, which depends on the network of electricity distribution companies, DISCO, to transport electrical power. The wheeling of power is increasingly common practice across the world, with green energy being the future of the power generation. There's an ongoing, and we have been basically hearing since morning, which we call competitive trading bilateral contract market, CTC-BM dialogue being run by NEPRA under the tutelage of Tausif Saab. This will help Pakistan move towards a multi-seller, multi-buyer model, allowing large consumers like industry the freedom to enter the bilateral agreements with producers, which is the learning and knowledge that has lended such models in the past. The manufacturing industry is eventually going to form the bulk of consumers for energy through the power wheeling mechanism. Its early involvement in this dialogue will ensure consensus on the CTCBM model and will encourage local foreign organizations to invest in the renewable energy sector in Pakistan. As some of Pakistan's largest investors, multinational organizations like Unilever, are also strategically placed to influence new investors to enter the suppliers market as well as influence global grants and FDIs for the clean energy transition. It's a question of starting somewhere and creating a sense of continued commitment that spells beyond the immediate and takes into account a long-term view of our value creation and lobbying locally and around the world for impact and driving accountability. If millions and billions can continue to be poured into war that kill and destroy, the world also find the funds to restore and rebuild. The cost of the climate crisis must not be for the most vulnerable countries to bear alone. The developed nations must take responsibility to restore at least some of the damage their actions have caused till now. The natural disaster Pakistan is facing is not an outcome of its own policy options, but a consequence of the choices made by others as well. We are committed to the well-being of the planet and the land we call home. And as you have heard the coming together of industry experts from across Pakistan, we have outlined the way for ensuring a sustainable, clean future with reduced emissions and renewable energy. Thank you very much.
So I think Tausif Saab will like to respond.
आमिर प्राचा साहब बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. मैंने कहा एक करेक्शन कर दूं, मैं डॉक्टर नहीं हूं. और एक दो चीज़ें मैं कहना चाह रहा था कि मैं हमेशा ये कहता हूं कि पाकिस्तान में वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसने सबसे ज़्यादा मिलियनर्स बनाए वो है DHA, और पाकिस्तान में वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसने सबसे ज़्यादा बिलियनर्स बनाए वो है नेपरा. अगर आप में से कोई बिलियनर बंदा रह गया हो तो अभी वी हैव गिवन यू अ फैंटास्टिक चांस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ CTBCM कि आप अपनी लक ट्राई करें. और मैं ये चाहता हूँ पोटेंशियल इन्वेस्टर को, जितना ज़बरदस्त अपॉर्चुनिटी ये है बल्क पावर्स कंज्यूमर्स के लिए, उससे भी ज़्यादा बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी ये है पोटेंशियल इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए. आप इसको समझें. मैं आपसे ये नहीं कहता कि डोंट जंप इनटू इट विद योर आइज क्लोज, ब्लाइंडली ना करें, इसको पूरी तरह स्टडी करें. We have reached on an inflection point in Pakistan. ये एक बड़ी सीरियस इंटरवेंशन नेपरा ने की है. जैसे नेट मीटरिंग, आप में से वो लोग जो नेट मीटरिंग की बाउंटीज का इस वक्त मजा उठा रहे हैं, जब पूरे पाकिस्तान में बिजली नहीं है तो आप अपनी बिजली सेल्फ प्रोडक्शन कर रहे हैं अपनी रूफटॉप पे. और ना सिर्फ उसका फायदा आपको ये है कि सिस्टम अगर आपको बिजली नहीं दे रहा तो आप अपनी बिजली प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, आप सस्ती बल्कि फ्री बिजली प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, और एक्सेसिव यूनिट्स जो हैं वो गवर्नमेंट को बेच भी रहे हैं. तो जैसा जबरदस्त इंटरवेंशन वो था, अभी किसी ने पहले ये कहा कि हम इन प्रोसेसेस को बहुत स्मूथ बनाएं, तो नेपरा ने 25 किलोवाट तक के लाइसेंसेस जो है उसको डी लाइसेंस कर दिया कि वो आपको नेपरा के पास आने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. इसी तरह इससे ज्यादा हम और क्या कर सकते हैं बीइंग योर रेगुलेटर, कि हमने अपना सर काट के आपको पेश कर दिया है. वरना पाकिस्तान में कोई चपड़ासी भी जो है वो भी अपनी पावर्स किसी को देने को तैयार नहीं होता. हमने पूरी मार्केट डीरेगुलेट कर दी है 1 मेगावाट से ऊपर, और वंस इंशाल्लाह ये सक्सेसफुली लॉन्च हो जाएगा, हम इसको रोल आउट करेंगे रिटेल लेवल पे. और ये जितनी जल्दी सक्सेसफुल होगा उतनी जल्दी हम रोल आउट करेंगे. जैसे अभी आपके पास चॉइस है कि आप टेलीकॉम में जिस मर्जी ऑपरेटर से अपना कनेक्शन लें, इंशाल्लाह एक दिन ऐसा आएगा अभी ये होता है कि एक सिंगल फेज मीटर लगवाने के लिए ये डिस्कोज या केई आपकी नाक की लकीरें निकलवा देता है। उसके बाद आपके पास चॉइस जब होगी तो मेरी आपसे ये रिक्वेस्ट होगी, आप उनकी नाक की लकीरें ना निकलवाइएगा, बी डिसेंट विद देम। लेकिन इंशाल्लाह जब ये चॉइस होगी तो आप एक बहुत बड़ा फर्क महसूस करेंगे। ये चॉइस आपको नेपरा देने जा रहा है और इंशाल्लाह जब ये सक्सेसफुल हो जाएगा तो हम इसको रिटेल लेवल पे लेके आएंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर होस्टिंग मी। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Tausif Saab. So now we'll move to Dr. Hina for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ahad. And thank you. I'm extremely honored and privileged to be able to pay my gratitude and a bundle of thanks to the extremely distinguished delegates, starting from Tausif Saab, the CEO NEPRA, our great host, Ami Paracha Sahab, the great team and the wonderful host and the hospitality that we have received is beyond the words that I can express at this time. So I'm really thankful to all of your team members, first of all, Hussein, Fatima, Ramla, the admin, PR, IT. I don't remember everybody's name, but the PR team and my team at STPI, who's not just here, but also working at the back in Islamabad office, in the outreach, the social media, and also making all these 2 days events successful. So I'm very happy to mark this event a successful event with a great participation from public, private, civil societies, academia, investors, and that's what we call it a major success. So can we please have a big round of applause for all of us? Thank you. I am also very thankful to the collaborating partners, beginning with the German cooperation, German Pakistan Climate Energy Initiative. So Hartmut is just sitting there. If you could raise your hand just behind yourself, has been an incredible support. Then, of course, Unilever Pakistan, Stimulus, Hera Wajahat is sitting with us. We have Renewables First. So we had a delegation from Renewables First. It's a think tank on working on renewables. And the Pakistan Renewable Energy Coalition as well that I would like to mention. That is a coalition working on the renewables in Pakistan. And this all could be made possible under the Network for Clean Energy Transition in Pakistan of STPI, which most of you are our member. And we have been mobilizing these efforts together collectively to make and push the clean energy transition program in Pakistan more forward and at an accelerated rate. So thank you so much to everybody on behalf of STPI and my executive director, Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleiri, who has been not been able to join the day 2, but he has, on behalf of him as well, I would like to give a special thanks to make this event really successful. We have some stats to showcase. You must have seen the team beam going all throughout the sessions, just to showcase the outreach we have had. And this is just the stats from the social media, but online on the Zoom participation, the numbers have exceeded more than 100. And the participation here as well yesterday and today, I think it shows a big success, and we will keep this momentum going for the next year and on annual basis. And of course, the technical report of this conference that will be published every year will be circulated amongst each one of the stakeholders and the participants who have joined us for their review, for their contributions, and also for their feedback. So we would really like to welcome that. So if you look at the stats, so only in day 1, there's been around 400K reach that we have had, with around 501 mentions, 459 interactions, 250 shares, and 209 likes.
And this is just for day one. So I would emphasize that, because day two, we had the most distinguished panels on power wheeling, on the corporate social responsibility, and with the spice presence of our distinguished delegates from NEPRA and from NICA, and from the other partner institutions. So thank you very much. I hope to see you next year again, or we would love to host you in Islamabad next time. So thank you so much once again for Unilever for hosting us in Karachi. We had a lovely time. Thank you. I think, Hussein, we break out. No, we have a group photo. If you could request, please, the guests to. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Hina. If I could ask the speakers, Dr. Saab, Tausif Saab, Amir, if I could ask all of you to come on stage, we just have a group photograph, and then we'll break for lunch.
So just to add, our English press release also got good traction yesterday. So there are 5 mentions that have been reported by the team, but I think there will be more.